Okay, this video is on how to edit your newly scanned files with Adobe Acrobat to make changes and improvements on it. I'm looking at the Freshman Health book, and you can see I'm going to do Chapter 2, which it's kind of obvious it hasn't been done yet. So for a couple reasons. Number one, it's got a way different date than Chapter 1, and also it's very large, and this process will make it much smaller. Now when you do a scan, and I'm going to go ahead and click on it so it starts opening while I'm talking. When you do a scan, it really is making pictures of all the pages. It is not making text out of all the pages. And what we're doing with Adobe Acrobat is turning it into text and pictures, and text is way smaller than pictures. So it's going to shrink it down, what we're going to do, and it's also going to make it so it's searchable. So if a student's looking for a word in the file, they'll be able to find the file, or find that word. So right now, if I was to go into this, it doesn't see this as anything other than a big picture. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button right here, and it brings up all the pages, and I can take out any of the pages that don't belong in the document. So by clicking here, I'm going to see all the pages pop up, and this is where I can go in and delete pages. So this page doesn't belong on Chapter 2. Chapter 2 actually starts on page 2. So the first thing you do is click on that and just hit the delete key, and it'll say, are you sure you want to delete that page? And you say OK. And then I'm going to go down to the very last page and see if that one belongs in the document. And it is part of Chapter 2. It's a Chapter 2 review, so I've got all the pages I want. Now, that's the first part of this. The second part is to make it text. So I'm going to go over here and hit Tools, and I'm going to go down to the Recognize Text tab, which right now is pretty far down. And then I'm going to click the button that says AA in this file. It takes the whole file and it recognizes all the text. This process takes a few minutes. So I'm going to pause it while it's doing it, so that I'm going to click on it and let it, it's going to say, hey, do you want to look at all the pages? I say OK. And now it's going to go through this entire document one page at a time, and it's going to look for all the text in there, and it's going to turn it all to searchable text that a text reader could read, a student could copy and paste. They can use the search tool to find specific words or phrases in the document. So if they were looking for a certain thing, they would be able to search it, whereas before they could not. So I'm going to pause it. You can see it. This is a teacher machine I'm doing it on, so this is a speed that it goes through one page at a time to turn it all into text. And then after that, I'm going to be able to, when I save it, I'm going to actually shrink it down a little bit so the file's even smaller. So right now I'm going to pause the recording while it gets through all these pages. Okay, when the process is done scanning, it just is finished, and now the words are searchable, and you can see I can see those as words, and if I want to do a search in the file, I can. The last thing I'm going to do is do File, Save As, and Reduced Size PDF. It's going to shrink the size of the file down. And before I do that, I want you to see what the size of the file was. Again, it was 16 meg, and when I do this, again, I'm going to do File, Save As, Reduce Size PDF, and it says it needs to be saved, work and optimize. You say yes, and say OK about retaining existing compatibility. I'm going to go ahead and put a B on the end of this name so we see both of them and what the size of the text one is, and then the reduced size. Now if we look, it's already dropped from 16 down to 12 just by turning it into text and pictures instead of all pictures. So that automatically makes it smaller. But then once this process is done and we see the new file show up, you're going to see that it's going to drop down like this one did. The smaller the file is, the faster it'll download for your students, the faster it'll open on the tablet for the students, and basically the better it'll be for your students. So you want really to go through this process. Even if you don't have pages to delete and add, you want to go through this process to optimize the file and make it as good a PDF as you possibly can. It's almost done. I'm going to pause it again until it's finished, and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, it's all done now. So the file you can see went from 12 down to basically 4. So it's 1/4 the size of the original file. And if we were to open both these up and go back and forth, you'd see that you can almost see no difference whatsoever. Especially considering it's all text now. The text doesn't get shrunk at all. It just shrinks down the photos a little bit. Um, you may not want to do a reduce size if it's a graphic that that's the primary thing you've got in your document, like it's an art book or something. That might make a difference on the photos, but I haven't seen it to make a difference at all. So that's how you do that. And I guess the last thing is if you want to add pieces together, like a couple people have had problems scanning, if it broke into 2 pieces, you could go to the end and also say insert pages from another file, and you can merge files and stuff together too. So Acrobat's pretty handy, and those are the main 2 things I do, is to delete the pages on this side and then recognize the text on this side.